What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ring the Bell Phillies show here on the RTB Philly Sports Network, presented by SeatGeek. I am your host, Christy Francesco, and joined by my other host, Jason Kent, which is, boy, just the guy that I want right now because, look, Jason, get that chapstick out because I know you're about ready to defend this team until those lips are cracking red. So, look, I have a lot to get off my chest, and it's something. Well, I've wanted to say a lot of things over the past month, but I've kind of held off because I wanted to really see what this team was going to do. And this nightmare has really started since all the way back, June 1st, really. But more or less, the big meltdown to me started the moment they swept the Dodgers before the All-Star break. I don't know what is going on. The Phillies just dropped their fourth consecutive series this past weekend here. That they dropped 2 of 3 to the Cleveland Guardians. And I really just want to get into it now, and I'm going to go over it. There's a lot of things that I want to just unpack here, so bear with me as we get through these things. Look, I don't normally write things down when I do these shows. I told Jason in Gorilla right before we hit live. This is the first time that I sat in my car after the game and I wrote down a bunch of things that have just been sitting on my mind for a while, and I'm going to get them out here. So this is a 2-month losing slump that this team is on. August 1st is next Thursday. So it's all, we're already July 28th, and the Phillies have been a very bad baseball team for going on 2 months now. They are 20-20 since June 10th. Under 5, they're right at 500 since June 8th, London. They're the 15th best baseball team since June 10th. Since June 1st, they're 25-22. And again, they've dropped 4 straight series now. And there's so much I want to unpack. My first question is, and I'm going to ask this to you, obviously, Jay, because John's not here. From what we're seeing, we have preached for years that the Phillies really need April and May to go great. They had over almost 44 wins April and May. They've only got 65 right now. So they've only since the end of May, they've gotten just about 20 more wins. Is this team maybe what we're seeing right now? I'm going to pull a mid-May Jason right now. Are the Phillies a product of a soft first half schedule because they had the 24th most difficult schedule the first half of the season? The back end of the season, they had the 7th most difficult schedule in baseball. What are we seeing right now? What are we seeing the last 2 months?
I just think it's a slumping team.
Okay.
I don't think they're this bad. Yes, I think they beat up some pretty bad competition teams you thought they would beat. But you're nervous because when you're looking at it, the things that we were all worried about, the Ranger, could he go? The bullpen, could they continue to keep it up? Could Kirkring, as a guy who's never really been here, could he keep it up? And he's starting to kind of really fall off. Alvarado's not the guy he was, really closing it out. As you see, we traded away Sir Anthony, so we don't have him. He's definitely not that big end bullpen guy you thought. So kind of a lot of the fears that we thought early on in the season where everything was going so well, kind of every one of them are happening. So I think it's one of those just bad luck kind of situations right now that all real, your good teams you go through, and they just have to figure it out. They got to come out on the other end. The only issue is there's not much, I don't think, in terms of changing the roster, in terms of trades or anything you could do to really upgrade this season. So it's really the boys in the clubhouse need to figure it out.
So, look, you got the Yankees coming in, right? They're actually struggling worse than the Phillies. The Yankees opened up the season at 50-22. but they've lost 23 of their last 34 games entering, here tonight, Sunday. They'd have Wheeler, Nola, and Sanchez going in this series. But again, I understand the whole point of a slumping team. The Phillies are going through this slump, but, you know, in a way, I don't think I would be feeling so okay about that. Or I don't think maybe you would be feeling so okay about that if the Brewers weren't doing as good as they have been. Obviously, they're not doing well. The Braves are still slumping. The Mets are really the hottest team in the National League the last month and a half or so. This is my problem. The cushion that the Phillies have is kind of that's what the glue is right now. I believe that's kind
I
of
agree. I that's a very valid point.
yeah.
That's a very valid point, but you also can't I don't think you can discount it either.
I
Like,
agree.
I don't think you could throw it out the window and say just
Look,
because they were so well, it shouldn't matter then just
no,
because they're
you're right.
struggling now.
You win those games in April and May that you and I are in the minority with until it happens. The benefits of April and May, everyone, all you stupid haters out there who bitch and complain when I complain about a 5 or 6 game losing streak in April, this is why you have good Aprils and Mays. April and May is so bleeping vital when you are 20 and when you're 21 and 21 since June 8th. Any other season, the past decade, past 15 years, the Phillies are probably 9 games out of first place right now. They're probably only 5 or 6 games above 500 right now. So yes, I will never discount April and May because that's what's holding this thing together right now. And of course, the fact that, and it's not the Phillies' fault, it's not their problem, that other teams in the National League are also struggling. Um, but again, one of my other questions I asked, and we've kind of talked about it. Are you worried at all that on this last 60 games of the year, the Phillies have one of the hardest schedules in baseball? Like, at what point can we say, oh, it's okay, the Phillies are going to turn this around? I mean, it's August next week.
I think when we did look through the schedule, and we looked at the team, and that's why I said early on, to me, from the opening episode of this season, I thought you had to see what the Phillies were going to be come the trade deadline, because the opening half of their season looked very easy, and then you saw the back end in the second half where you had the premier teams of the league that you're going to see heavy and hard hitting. So you wanted them to jump out to that big start, but now I don't know what you can do. And I really thought before, at the beginning of the season, I thought there'd be a bigger trade deadline, a lot more moving pieces, but it doesn't. I don't know if a lot of big names are going to get moved, so it's tough. You got to hope that boys in here can do it, but you know, can Wheeler and Nola pick up for losing Ranger? And I think where Sanchez needs to start to step up, you got to find the fourth guy to step up now too, to step up for losing Ranger, and that's going to be your issue. Who's going to be the next guy coming out that you really need big time in the starters to catch up, because that Ranger issue is big. That's a huge issue, and he's a tough guy to replace this late in the season because there's not many people out there you can go trade for that can be a top of the rotation guy right now.
Yeah, and Dombrowski's already made it clear that he's done going after pitching unless it's a bullpen arm that comes across him. But and a lot of what's going on, like, look, the Phillies blew another 3-run lead. They fell to the Guardians 4-3 on Sunday afternoon. Again, their 4th consecutive series loss. They've dropped 8 of their last 12 games. It hasn't made any impact, thank God, in the NLE standings as the Braves continue to lose. The Mets are I think tied, or if not ahead now in the wild card, which is wild, but still, 9.5 games out of first place. But there is no question that this has been the Phillies, coldest stretch of the season. They're 65-40. They have a 3-game set coming up here against the Yankees. And, I said this to you and John in the text, and I kind of want to ask, and John's going to join here, so it's good that I'm going to say this. Let's bring John in here. Let me fix while you are with me live.
Big sexy.
I wasn't looking at my phone for like.
It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. We're not important. But the so this is what I want to say is, and I sent this guys to you in the text message, and then John, I'm going to circle back to our opening question to you in a moment. But first, let's get where my thought was going before I lose it, because that's what happens when I do this thing. I look at this Yankee series as the beginning of what this trend could be for the next month. I really believe that this Guardians, I'm just going to call them Indians. Fuck off with that Guardian stuff. I want to say Indians every time. This Indians series in the weekend, I believe, is the wake up game. It's the wake up series. It's now you get the Yankees on Monday, and now you hit August on Thursday. This season, I think, is going to go one or two ways. We obviously know what those two ways are. I believe that Guardian series, the Indian series this weekend, has to be that wake up call. Now, you've lost 4 straight series. You've lost 8 of 12. You're 21-21 since mid June. There has to be a wake up call with this lineup and this roster, and it has to start now. John, are you of that same mindset as well, or am I still overblowing all of this?
I agree because the Yankees are really bad right now, but they're
Yes.
still really talented. So if you lose to a team that's really bad, right now, even though they're talented, that's a problem. But I mean, I wouldn't say this series was the wake up call. I would say probably you would start the Pittsburgh series because Pittsburgh, they're up and coming. They have 3 good arms, but guess what? You didn't face those 3 good arms in that series. So it's like, why are you losing that series? You faced their worst pitching. They're not even their best pitching, and you pretty much had some of your best guys go in that series. And then you lose. That's all right. You lose that series, and then you lose to Minnesota, and you think, all right, Minnesota's a good team. We just didn't have it. We're on the road. Let's get. And then Bryce even said, a lot of other guys said, I can't wait to get back home. I can't wait to get back home. So they get back home, and then what happens?
Yep.
You do that at home, against a team that is, competing for that best team in baseball spot, because the Phillies have that record, but certainly Cleveland looked like that series. And I said it last weekend. I was like, if you want to beat Cleveland, make sure you're winning that game, because once they get to that bullpen, you're not scoring. You're not scoring. That bullpen is very good, and Clase is very dominant in the ninth. And it was a problem all series. And I said it to you earlier. I said it probably a couple times this week. This team is not scoring with runners in scoring position at all. They have become once again what they were when they were really bad. It's either they hit a home run and they win the game, hit home runs and they win the game, or they don't win at all. And that's what they're turning into once again.
Yeah, so since the All-Star break, the Phillies are 11 for 55, which is a 200 batting average with runners in scoring position since the All-Star break.
Oh, it's 55 by 54, but that's
just either way, that's really bad. And so now that's where I'm gonna go to both of you is, we talk about we have talked about Topper a lot in his roster construction, how he builds a lineup. I'm just going to come out and say Jason and I have been pretty decent defenders of Topper all season long. Last season, I'm really I'm starting to go here. People around me at the stadium today were asking the same thing. For God only knows a reason you'd make a decision today to start Brandon Marsh against a lefty, but other than Nick Castellanos, the last 9 games, your best hitter has been Bryson Stott, and he's not playing today. In a game where you need to win to win a series, a very important series. You've dropped 3 straight prior to today. Why? What is going on with Topper and these little nitpicks that he does with the lineup? I'm really getting sick and tired of it.
Stott was 4 for 8.
Stott's sick. I think Stott is 6 for his last 18.
Yeah, but he's 4 for 8 this series. That's like, are you kidding me there? Like, that's why isn't he playing? Like, obviously it seems like he's getting hot. He's starting to hit the ball a little bit. He hit a home run and then three more hits after that. Why is he not playing? Questions, why stop and battle here? Well, maybe it's because every time he starts to get it going, he gets a day off here randomly. Well, maybe if he goes 0 for 4 the next 2 games, then give him his day off. Not like right in the middle after he just goes, he went 3 for 4, he goes 1 for 4, and then, let's give him off day on Sunday. It's like, why? Like, are you going to do this in the playoffs? Like, is he not going to play every single playoff game, or are you going to have to play Sosa, this was almost like a playoff series here. This could be an opening round. If they, they don't have that those one or two seeds the way they've been playing. This is an open round playoff series right here. That you're not going to play them in the third game because the lefty's pitching.
This was Brandon Marsh's first start against a lefty since mid-May, and Bryson Stott gets benched. I don't get, Jason, please help me make sense of this. Make it make sense.
Listen, I still don't like it. I don't know why we're not, Stott. We all feel he should they need to be everyday guys at this point to let him flourish. So I just, especially Stott. Stott's the guy you believe is going to be your everyday second baseman, who's a Gold Glove caliber second baseman.
Yeah.
Why is he not starting every day? It still doesn't make sense. I don't understand. Like at some point, I don't know what his thought is, and he's come out and said he's not going to just change the way he does things, but sometimes it doesn't make sense. And I don't know if it's wanting to get Sosa at bats, but I feel there's other spots you could put Sosa. I just don't understand the Stott, the benchings.
Why would it? I know it was a must-win game, but Bowman, his ankle was obviously bothering him. He had to get taken out of the game on Saturday night. Why isn't Sosa playing third base and giving Bowman a day off for those situations? I get it.
Yeah.
And I get, if you're going to look at it, if you're going to give Stott a day off, why doesn't this guy get the day off who's actually a little beat up? That makes no sense. Another thing too that Topper did this weekend, Dave Dombrowski says Austin Hayes is available on Friday night and he pinch hits and he puts in Weston Wilson. Why aren't you bringing the new guy? I don't understand the new guy you traded for. If you as an everyday player, you've won it for the past two trade deadlines, you don't use him. You use Wilson.
Weston Wilson, whatever. Everyday player.
But that's how they view him.
He's gonna be now. Apparently,
when he was an everyday player, I will say this: he was a pretty good everyday left fielder when he was down there. He was hitting 16 home runs a season, 22 the 1 year, and then they moved the wall in, so that obviously affected how many home runs he was going to hit. And he was a 250, 260 hitter. You can't complain. That's doing more than what Marsh does and what Pache was.
Isn't that pretty much exactly what Marsh did last year?
Marsh
maybe a little less home runs. But about that's exactly what you got from Marsh.
But I think Marsh also struck out a lot more.
So here, the question I started with to talk to Jason, John, before you joined in, to begin the season up to the first half, to the All-Star break, the Phillies had the 24th, I guess you could say 24th most difficult schedule in baseball. The second half of the season, it jumps all the way to the 7th most difficult schedule in baseball. We talked about forever how a strong April and May can really benefit you later in the season. Prime example, what's been going on the last 2 months, which is great. Can't downplay that. That just shows to everyone who thought that I was crazy forever. That's why April and May is so important when this kind of shit happens in July and August. Do you think the Phillies are more of a product of that first half soft schedule? Or is this just one of those, I hate to say it, but I mean, Jason thinks it's something that a lot of teams go through, but do you think they're maybe a product of a soft schedule in the first half?
I do a little bit because I'm indifferent about it because I do think they were able to not have these bad of moments because they were playing such good teams, bad teams, and now they're playing such much better competition. They're having those bad moments that they didn't have yet. So it's like they're in that bad position that they, when they do, how do I put this? When they're in that bad position that when they play bad teams, they can win playing bad. But they're playing bad and they're playing really good competition that they can't seem to get back on track. So I do agree with Jason that every team goes through this, but they're just going through it against really good competition right now. And the fact that they got that hot start in the season that, now it's that they can go through this though, but it's discouraging to see that you're doing this against bad competition. This is good competition, and you're going to see this in the playoffs.
I disagree because we had against Pittsburgh, we should have taken 2 or 3. We blew a lead against Minnesota. We should have taken 2 of 3. We did blow another lead late in that game as well. So there's a 2 series. And I guess I get Minnesota today. You kind of got to suffer through it because you're losing Ranger. But I think a lot of there could have been series that we won. Yes, we lost them early in the season. We were winning those series. I think you're losing to some bad competition. But when you look in the first half of the season, our record against teams above 500 is pretty damn good. So I don't want to say it's all an environment of a bad schedule because we were beating the teams that are above 500 as well. So it's not like our record was very bad against those teams and we were just beating up bad competition. So they did play well against
But
those
the teams
teams.
that we were beating up with 500 better record, I wouldn't consider any of them contenders. You know,
Dodgers are definitely contenders. Milwaukee's
again,
definitely a
how many guys?
contender.
I know they still have a good lineup with the guy.
But
Guys
it's
were
but it,
missing.
you
They were
can't you
missing
can't you only can play
some
who you
good
can play.
players.
So
You're right.
everybody's
You're
hurt.
not playing the real Dodgers.
But you may not
You're
be
not
in the
playing the real
playoff times. I
Dodgers.
can't fault that. I can't fault for
And
when I
that
play
Dodgers team
them.
that Dodgers
But
team
you
that's put
beat
out there,
Milwaukee.
that's not a contender team. That team that was just out there is not a contender team.
Listen,
The fully
you
healthy
beat the
Dodgers are a
team the
contending
second
team.
best in the NL. You swept them, whether full
So-
strength or not.
Let's kind of get to the crux of why we're at where we're at right now. And the fact of the matter is the offense. Obviously the Phillies still have that 2-game lead over the Guardians and Dodgers for the best record in baseball. We've already said it ad nauseum. They've gone 20-20 since arriving back from London. The offense is bad, guys. They have a 697 OPS heading into Sunday's game, which is the 12th lowest in baseball in that span. The 2 through 6 hitters on Sunday went hitless in 18 at-bats with 3 walks. Up until this past weekend, I mean, Kyle Schwarber was doing, 197 Kyle Schwarber things and not hitting the ball, not walking, striking out a ton. Bryce Harper is slumping mightily. He homered on Saturday, yes, but he's got 4 hits in his last 29 at-bats, went 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout in Sunday's loss. Look, is Harper
JT
still
hasn't been good since he's been back.
JT's been a
2 for 17.
horrific offensive player since coming back. Cassidy's been fine. Turner's been struggling big time.
But
Again,
Turner's struggles aren't as bad as those other guys, I would say, though. He's not hitting 330 right now. He's hitting 250, 275, and these other guys are hitting under 200 at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to go check where Turner is over the last couple of weeks, but still, nonetheless, and Harper said this after the game. The Stars got to hit. That 1 through 4 has to
has to hit.
That's what
he. But it has to be him. He's the guy. He's the engine.
No, that's right. I agree with you. He's the guy that leads everything.
But
that's why I like that he's calling himself out and everyone else saying we have to hit. We're the ones that have to, like Jimmy. If Jimmy was hitting, it's a pretty good shot. Utley and Howard were also hitting. So that's why, Harper is that guy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's a 3-hole hitter. He's not leading the team. He's not leading off. Neither is Turner. But nonetheless, still, Schwarber did his job this weekend. The Phillies had 4 hits today. 2 of them, all of their runs came from Schwarber. So it's, Schwarber's did his job this weekend. Harper did his job Saturday, but still 4 for his last 29 or 30. But overall, the Brandon Marshes, the Bryce, the Bohms, the guys, the entire lineup almost from top to bottom since the All-Star break has been really bad. Again, one of the bottom half of baseball. Guys, I'm going to ask you, at what point are we going to start worrying about this offense here?
I'd give it another week or 2 before I really panic.
Okay.
Because, they are going through, post All-Star break and stuff like that, lost out of the group. Let them see if they can get back in the group in the next 2 weeks. If they're like playing like this for 2 more weeks, then you start worrying. They're still a good baseball team. We're hoping they get out of it, but if they don't, that's when you start worrying in 2 weeks. If they're still going, 3 games under 4 games, 5, 6, they're still losing series after series. Then you start worrying it, after that. Now, but
yeah,
right now it's, they've had a bad 12 games. I think it's been since the Dodgers series. They've had 12 games. Hopefully the next 2 weeks, they get out of it. But that's when you really start worrying, because then it's going on really long, and it's not the team you thought they were.
So
I just think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just think I really do think they just need Bryce to break out of it. Bryce hasn't been the same hitter since he got back from his injury. He needs to, he's got to find a swing, and once he starts hitting, that's what's going to make this team hit. I'm a little worried about Bohm because Bohm isn't. He still makes me worried. He gets the RBIs because he's in the 4 hole, just because that the rest of the guys get on. But he's starting to worry me because he's starting to cool off. So he
Yeah.
might be a little worrisome.
But he might just be a guy that he needs. For some reason he elevates when people are on base because it seems like he's always driving in runs.
I agree, but I also think Bohm is battling a couple different injuries as well. I mean, that's been quite noticeable, I think, also. And he's not getting time off because, again, he's been their number one run producer. It's hard to take that guy out of the lineup if he says he can go. But you're right. I think from top to bottom, they've got to stop. They cannot fall back into that rut where they're either a home run or bust team. And I feel like, maybe since the All-Star break, that's what this is. It's home run or bust.
Do you think they feel comfortable with how everything's playing out with everybody else in the division? It seems like they're pretty much going to walk into winning this division at this point in the season. Do you think
I hope not. They haven't earned that.
You know what I mean? That's one thing I worry about.
That's why I hated that Oakland series.
Yeah.
That's why that Oakland series, basically giving up Oakland like you did, to me set a bad example. And now you've come out of the All-Star break getting your ass busted.
Yes.
And that's what my bother, because you made such a statement, whether they're full strength or not, you made such a statement against LA, and you just shit the bed against the A's, and then
you haven't picked it up since.
No, and you have to. They're not good enough to, and we saw that last year in the playoffs. If anything, we noticed last year, you're not good enough to just turn it on because you couldn't when you needed to. So they need to know they got to show up, and they have to start putting it back together, because it's not looking good, and there's not a lot of easy fixes. And the next 3 series aren't cake series. They're tough teams.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's kind of go over the pitching. We know we lost Ranger Suarez for at least the next 2 weeks with that lower back tightness. I mean, that's going to be worrisome. We've already, all 3 of us have been worried for 2 months now because of his workload. I mean, he's was on pace to far surpass his workload, his career high in workload and innings and pitches. So and it's clear the past month or so, he's been really bad. So maybe this is one of those things where it couldn't have come at a better time. Hopefully he comes out of this okay. The Phillies really need him because I don't foresee them at all going after a starter. I mean, Dombrowski even said he's not going after starting pitching at this deadline. But
I think their depth's been productive this year. So
that's fine. So that's going to lead me to what my issue is, and that's the bullpen. Marte last week probably had the worst inning I've ever seen a pitcher have in my life. I have never seen anything like what he did, what Junior Marte did last week, in that one inning of, I guess you can call that work. But Ryan Kerkering is struggling. Alvarado for over a month now has been disgustingly bad. Alvarado is starting to get that Sir Anthony Dominguez type knock from me, where when that ball gets out of his hand, he has no idea where it's going to go.
That was the Alvarado knock first. Let's remember that. That was an Alvarado knock first.
So I got to give Jason credit in a way, because I am now with Alvarado where Jason was last year and the year before. I don't want to see the guy unless we're up by 6 or 7, 5, 6 or 7 runs. I don't think he has any idea what's going on up there. I think
his role is going to change.
It definitely has. It already has. It's done now. You better hope so. Or Topper, I don't ever want to see him again either. But I think Kerkering, John, I talked to you that sometimes. I mean, lately I feel like Kerkering is almost cooked right now.
He just doesn't have. He doesn't have that stamina in his arm yet. He can't pitch back-to-back days. He's probably going to pitch the most he's ever pitched in his career this year, even though he missed the first month of the season. He's not there yet. For a guy we had a lot of hopes for, he just doesn't have that it's going to take time for him to build that up. He's not there yet. He's
Mhm.
young. Even in college, you don't pitch as much as he's pitching now. The minors, he definitely didn't pitch as much as he's going to pitch now. And so he's not there yet. Hopefully next year he takes a bigger step, and it has that. He's more prepared for this much of a workload because next year we're sure going to need it because Estevez is gone next year. Hoffman's gone next year. I believe Alvarado has an option, doesn't he? So there's going to be a lot of guys, who are not. This bullpen's going to look a lot different next year. He's going to be a guy who's going to be looked on after.
Well, I mean, John, we're going to have to figure it out with Kirkering because he's going to be in high leverage situations between now and October. So, I don't know if
he's still the fourth guy now. I think he's still your fourth guy you bring in. If your three best guys are ready, you're bringing them seventh, eighth, ninth. If you're starting to give you 6 innings, he's the fourth guy right now. And then Alvarado might be the seventh guy. He might.
Yeah.
Well, problem is who's 1, 2, and 3 at this point. Like outside, you have Hoffman and Strom. I'm not trusting.
Right?
I don't even like. I don't understand what everybody is on this guy.
He's been.
Well, I'm not on him, but that's what they made the trade to make.
I get it.
But
outside of this year, outside of this season, dude's been a career 4 ERA guy out of the bullpen. He played in
Colorado.
I don't listen. Even last year in LA, he didn't do great. So he was
good in the 9th inning. He was.
But listen, I don't know if that's the move. That is the big move. I don't know if is that enough to.
It's not.
So that's my point. Like that to me is now on management. You look at it. If you're saying Kirkering, they didn't have any thoughts of Kirkering having this issue where if his load management couldn't be ready and he couldn't be ready for a full season, then to me, that's on management for bringing him up so soon or not bringing him up earlier last year to give him that management to start getting him ready instead of just bringing him up. So now my issue's on Dombrowski with saying, hey, now it seems like a lot of the moves we thought in the beginning of the season were really great. Like this is what happens and it does suck because listen, we are the number 1 team in baseball. Whether we just lost 2 of 3 to Cleveland, we still have the most wins, but Witt's not working out. Now a lot of the bullpen moves you really liked are starting to fall apart. You just gotta, and
you now have 3 players that can play center field because you can't start one every day. Like this is
huge. There's a lot of issues.
So this is going to go into my next question, and this might start an argument, which is fine. And I brought this up to Jason, who still hasn't answered me yet. Dombrowski, since being the controller of this organization, has not made one single significant trade for this baseball team that has been very, very impactful. He has not.
He's allowed to trade top prospects. I do not.
Well, he hasn't. He hasn't done it with the Phillies. But
that's what I mean. I don't think he's allowed to do that with the Phillies.
Well, here's where this is where I'm getting with all this.
Go ahead.
We know that a guy like Cody Bellinger is available for a trade. Kyle Tucker is available for a trade. This team, I'm sure if you make the right offer, I think he would be.
I don't think they're going to win that division.
Hold on, let Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
So if you have a team that's 500 since June, every single day the Phillies get to the ballpark, we have no idea who their starting center fielder is. They just traded for a role player who they're just going to throw in left field every day because Brandon Marsh can't win a single job in the outfield. So why can Dombrowski, who's known to be this incredible baseball mind, this World Series winning general manager, why can't this guy have the balls to say, you know what? I don't care what feathers I ruffle right now within that locker room. My job is I have a fiduciary responsibility to this franchise to produce a team that can win a World Series with this payroll, with this owner who demands it. Why can't he go all in and say, I'm going to go get a guy like a Bellinger?
I don't think there's somebody out there. I don't think that person, I don't believe Bellinger's that guy. You don't go all in on a Cody Bellinger who can opt out next season. And I really do not believe Houston wants to trade Kyle Tucker right now. To me, the only move that you make if I'm the Phillies, the only move that makes sense to me if I'm unloading my prospects is Kyle Tucker. I don't believe Houston wants to trade him. I do agree. Listen, if they have the shot, just get in the playoffs. You never know what happens. They know because they saw the Phillies in the World Series as the last seed in the wild card. So they get that. So I don't think that move's there. I do think there's other smaller moves. I don't know if the big move's there. And I honestly, right now, I'm okay with him not making that trade this year. When I look at the landscape, I don't think there's a player I want to really go out and get. Tucker was the guy. He was the guy I was shooting for. Houston sucked. Somehow Seattle choked and Houston went on a hot streak, and that ruined it. Outside of that, right now, I think to me, he gets one more year. I think right now you have the team, you put everything together. They got Trey last year. It just happened. Last year, there wasn't a super huge trade. They're not going to go after Soto. I don't know if they were even in that talks. This year, there's not the trade to be had. I do think Houston looks to unload Tucker in the offseason because they're not going to be able to re-sign him. To me, that might be the move I think Dombrowski's looking for. I think you got to think that term. So I give him one more year. I'm not as upset right now because he's made a lot of the other big signings. And these prospects are really just this last 2 years. So I give him one more year. If he doesn't do anything by next year, I think you got to start looking for a new GM, whether this team wins the World Series or not. Because, well, I would say if you win a series, keep it. But I don't think Dombrowski, he needs to make the big move. He's got to make he has till next year. That's I think the term he gets.
To piggyback off that real quick, John, before I get for you to make your rebuttal, and that you can have all the time you need. In your opinion, Jay, like how much longer is this window? This year and next year?
I think they have I'd say 2 years. I think they may get one extra year after that, depending on the moves you make. Because I still think you do see pitchers pitching later in their careers now. So if Wheeler and Nola can be that guy for another 2 years, I think you may get a possible 2 years after this season out of it. But I think that's it. So that's why I give Dombrowski till next year, because you got to go get a little bit younger talent. You have to start unloading some of these guys and get younger. And it's got to be big name guys at this point. You're the fourth payroll in baseball. You're a big market team. Now this is what's expected of you. You said you wanted this. It has to happen. So he really has to start stepping up. He's got no other options at this point.
All right, John, you've ingested all of that.
I just think Dombrowski doesn't have the authority right now to move any of the top prospects in the organization.
You really think John Middleton is telling him no?
Well, he's come out and said, I want long-term success, and I think that kind of comes down to keeping some prospects. Okay. If a guy says...
You don't tell a Hall of Fame... He's not handcuffing a Hall of Fame general manager. I 1,000% disagree with you there.
And then
he's a Hall of Fame general manager.
And then with guys like Marsh that they're loyal to, Rojas, Stubbs, some of the pitchers, maybe in the pen, I think they're all great guys in the locker room, and I think he hears great things from Topper, and he doesn't want to mess with that too. I think that has to do with why those guys continually get chances. I mean, these guys have proved they are 100% loyal to every single player on this ball club, and it's they knew they could get hit.
I disagree. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you for the most part, but trading away Dominguez was kind of surprising to me.
Super surprising.
I think the guys they weren't gonna opt into his contract next year, so that's why he gets moved. And Pache, they were kind of just done with, at this point.
You really believe they're going to handcuff the guy they brought in to be the dude? They're going to handcuff a Hall of Fame general manager. They're going to say, we're not allowing you to make a trade to get this team better. I think that's a little far-fetched.
Well, if you're saying Tucker's the only guy you're willing to, maybe Tucker's the only guy Middleton's willing to do, and they are like, we're not trading. That's the only guy.
Well, because if you're telling me, yes, if he's saying I'm going to give up if you're giving up prospects for Lewis Robert, then he's an idiot GM, and I don't want him.
Well,
I agree.
So I don't think there's anybody else you could go after right now that you need to give your prospects up for.
they want Mason Miller. Maybe they could have made a call about Mason Miller. And they said we just want Painter, and then Middleton's like, oh, I don't want it for a closer, for a guy who could be a starter for this ball club. That situation.
Well,
like that,
I don't, but I think
discussed.
something like that, I don't mind that as much. Like you're saying, the way you make it sound is they're not allowing him to make. Like I don't think a trade like that's coming up though. I don't think there's any real trades to be had. I don't believe there's trades to be had this season.
I look, I think you're probably right for the most part that I don't think there is that big name. So that's where I just struggle is when we've said for years, this is a GM who will trade prospects in a heartbeat. He's not doing it now, but Mike, but you're almost like, okay, well, when's that grenade going to get set off? Who's he going to do it for? When are they going to do it? I think you are right, Jay. I don't think there's a market right now to where you could just be like, you know what? If this player A is available, sure, you want Aiden Miller or Andrew Painter, you got him. And I think you're right. I think Kyle Tucker was the only guy that you do that for. But I guess I just have an issue with this team has a lot of struggles, and I'm not happy with the fact that it's 48 hours away from the trade deadline. And Carlos Estevez and Austin Hayes are the only thing that you can come up with.
Would you
get
get
back
Bellinger?
To signing Castellanos and Schwarber? Those guys are handcuffed to play two positions. They're so limited that if you don't sign a Kyle Tucker and you have somebody else DH, but he can also actually play a good field position, you could maybe get a Brent.
There's no DH that plays a good field position, so let's stop with that. All DHs are DHs. But Chris, would you make a trade for? What would you go get Bellinger? Like, would you actually go do that? Like, is that a move you want at this point?
Yes, I would like to solidify center field for the next 3 to 5 years.
But he could opt out after this season and leave.
But I don't think he would opt out of playing in Philadelphia. I think I would opt out of playing.
He comes here.
He comes here as a big season and has a big trade and blows up. He's 1,000% opting out to go get a bigger contract. There's no way he doesn't.
He wants to.
But you can almost. But I will say, if he has a huge season and he's again, this is all hypothetical, so this is tough. But again, if you get a Bellinger and he has a really good season and it's a great playoffs, he helps you win a World Series. I'm just saying.
Oh, well, that's different. Let's. But I don't think
you move on from Nick Castellanos or an Austin Hayes and you just pay Cody Bellinger.
I don't know if. Damn. Okay, you're going to tell me, but I don't know if Cody's that guy that I want to give up for. Like, if I'm giving up prospects, I've seen what we've gotten for Soto's and these type of players now. I want a bigger name. I want a bigger name guy, an established star. And I
understand.
Cody Bellinger, like I'm actually on kind of with John at this point. Listen, I'm 1,000% okay. If Tucker's not Tucker, if Robert's not going to cost a ton, let's go get him. And whatever, let's go get Vladdy. I'm with you. Like there's got to be something because this team, there has to be a move to shake something up. This team's too good right now. You can't blow the season. Like you can't just not Tucker. Do anything.
I mean, not Tucker.
I don't know if you can.
You can get Robert. I meant Robert without giving up Painter and Miller. Like because the Dodgers, the Braves are reported they have no hitters in that organization. That means we can give them Crawford, Caba, and the catcher Tot, however you say his name.
Well, I think even there you're still giving up too much. I'm not giving up two top 100 prospects.
If you decide between those three guys right there, and maybe throw in another bat somewhere else, like that Gabriel Racino who's in 300 in AA right now, that's fine. You can if they don't have you still have better hitters. Even if you just have to give up just a Crawford for them, you still have better hitters in that farm system than the Braves do right now.
I'm nervous that Dom believes too much because he said he did believe it. He said in the beginning of the season he believed this team was good enough to win a World Series. We're the only team. Like I don't believe that. I don't like the Estevez. Like I'm not saying it's not an okay because there are those seasons where guys just have a good season and you never know. So that could be happening. But I do think you have to fill
Look,
outfield. You have
I
to fill
agree.
something.
And look, I think it goes without saying. I mean, look at other good teams right now. Milwaukee's not making any significant moves. I mean, but you look at obviously the Braves, the Phillies haven't made anything. I mean, getting a closer is significant because it fits a need for the Phillies, but it's not, it's not Mason Miller type, you know what I mean? But still a good player. I mean, he could end up being really, really good for this team in the back end here. But the Yankees just went and got Jazz, who I think he's not that good. So I don't really think that's a great deal for
He's going to hit a
them.
lot of home runs there.
Well,
he's going to hit a lot of home runs. He's going to be a free agent, get paid somewhere else, and suck there. He's going to be a product of that stadium there. He's going to be a big help. I believe he's going to be a big help for them.
Yep. We don't know where Robert's going. He's going to go somewhere.
I thought the White Sox said they'd be content. They would be content if they kept both him and Crochet. They didn't get the right deal they wanted. I think they said they were okay with that.
Yeah, but I think everybody says that. They're probably looking to move him.
Seattle made a really good move getting I can't even pronounce the guy's name. That's a good pickup. But again,
Rosarena?
Is that what that is? Is that how you pronounce it?
Randy and Rosarena.
God, okay, I couldn't say it that fast then. Yeah, so I think you're right, Jason, in that there's a lot of trades happening, but it's not the shocking names that are being done because, yeah, I think you're right. The market's just not there. But it sucks to me because I feel like when is Dombrowski going to be that guy to go all in? And,
I really believe it's going to be next year. I turn because that's the best when he brought in Cast, he brought in, like John said, Schwarber brings in these guys. You have your established stars. There's really, even last year, there wasn't anyone significant. Like you could go make the minor moves for the pitchers, the starter, or the like a Robert guy to maybe hope that guy plays well. But I think I do believe it's next year. I think it has to be next year because
most teams
you can't keep being this.
Aren't giving up their top prospects unless you're getting a superstar. If you notice,
yeah.
So they aren't. They really aren't. I mean, even the Dodgers, when they do it, they're getting a Tyler Glass now in return. They're getting a Mookie Betts. They're getting these top 10, top echelon guys. Guys who can be top 10 players in this league at for a season or two. So so it makes sense why they're not. That guy's not available. They're not going to risk giving up these guys.
It does bother me now, though, looking back at it when you see a guy like Corbin Burns, who is somebody who I was champion for it for a while.
They have a 99th best prospect in baseball for him, and
the dude's starting the All-Star game for the American League now. Like these are, when you look at in the Glasnow move, you look at those moves where everybody knew, like even now, like we looked really good in the beginning of the season. But now that you're falling off, and guys like Glasnow and Burns, who are established stars who've been there and done that, where a guy like Ranger hasn't, it kind of sucks when you see you could have had those guys on, even if you're probably not even giving up Painter or Miller to go get them. And now you have
just gave up an Abel.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So now it's like those moves, when you look at it, that's what bothers me. That's where when I look at Dombrowski, I'm like, man, you could have had these dudes. What were you thinking? If I don't know if this team was good enough. I said in the beginning, Chris was the only one that really picked them to win the World Series.
Yeah.
I thought they needed a deadline move, and it stinks because this year there really isn't one.
Yeah.
I still think they're making the NLCS, but I don't know if I think it's gonna be them and the Dodgers, and I don't know yet if they can beat them yet. Fully healthy Dodgers team. We'll see what happens. But I also don't think they can beat a Baltimore right now, in the World Series, or even a Boston who's playing. He's extremely, extremely hot right now. The way and then also a Guardians team that's I don't know if they can win the World Series
in about a month.
They can get there
when we're hot.
They can get there.
We're all going to say World Series. This is going to be a new conversation.
Well, look, I was literally about to say, for some odd reason, as I'm talking through all this with you, I just feel like this team has the right kind of guys in that room to where it's going to wake up. And it's going to be another one of those August, Septembers that maybe we saw last year, or just something's going to click. But again, it starts, we say it all the time, it starts with Bryce, and it's going to have to trickle down from there. So look, we're really hoping all that's going to happen. Before we get out of here, we've been here for a while now. I know we talked about both players kind of in the midst of all of this. What was your guys' thoughts on the two trades that the Phillies made? Getting Estevez and Hayes here. I know, Jason, you are very much against the Hayes deal, especially since it looks like that's going to be the only offensive move that they will make. But overall, guys, what is your thoughts on the two deals that were made?
I'm giving probably C minus D plus. I don't really care for him. I'd still much rather see Marsh and Rojas. I don't really think Hayes is that much. I get everybody says a little more power, but I really feel Marsh kind of gave us those numbers and played spectacular defense. And the Estevez move, you hope it's one of those lightning in a bottle seasons for him, and he come here and play well. But it seems right now, if you're having other bullpen issues, I think they need to make another move still. I don't think you have to make another move or two, I believe, to be real serious contenders.
Mm-hmm. John?
I give him a B. I like the moves. I think, Hayes was an all-star last year. Estevez was an all-star last year. According to StatCast, he would have 11 more home runs in Philadelphia the past 3 seasons than he would have in Baltimore. So that's a good sign. Dombrowski seems like he has his idea of baseball players, and it seems like Estevez and Hayes were both guys he's wanted in the past, and he's finally been able to get them. So if we believed and we like the moves that he's made in the past with Castellanos, a Kyle Schwarber who've had their success here, a Kaufman who's had a tremendous amount of success, and these other guys, that he signed. I mean, then there's the Taiwan Walker, but if he has the guys he believes that can play, I mean, these are the guys that he's wanted. Hayes is controllable for the future, so that means even if he's not a starter next season, you can have a pretty solid bench player on your bench next year if you get a Kyle Tucker, and you're able to keep Hayes on your bench. Estevez, I mean, hasn't allowed a run since Memorial Day weekend, which is absolutely remarkable. He's retired 53 of his last 58 batters faced, which is unbelievable. He's been a ninth inning guy all season. He has 20 of 23 saves. It's the player that he's been all season. That's a hell of an acquisition at this moment in time. We'll see how it pans out here, because we've seen relievers come here and stink, after trades. We've seen hitters coming up there and they've stink. So, but I like that what's name can hit lefties better than Marsh could hit lefties, and even Ross can hit better than lefties. So that's a good sign for a guy to put in that lineup when that left-handed pitcher is there. And he can play all outfield positions. It's good to have better depth than what they've had. He's better than a Dahl. He's better than a Wes Wilson and all these other Apache and all these other guys. So it is an improvement. It's not what we wanted to see, but I don't hate the moves at all.
All right. So coming up here, like we just already talked about, the Phillies have a 3-game set at home against the New York Yankees. And then they go, they have off on Thursday again, and then they go all the way out to Seattle for a 3-game set. So we have 3 games at home against the Yankees, and then 3 games all the way out in the Pacific Northwest out there in Seattle against the Mariners, guys. What are you looking at this week in terms of record?
I'm saying 3-3. I think it honestly could be 2-4.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, I think it could be, because they're not playing well. I know the Yankees haven't been playing super great either, and Seattle hasn't. But we're struggling, and it makes me nervous. But I do think 3-3. I think they go 1-2 against the Yankees, and take 2. They go 2-1 against Seattle.
John?
2-4. I think they win both series. I think they're better than both these teams.
Wait, you said 2-4, and then you said they win both series.
4-2.
Okay, I was off there for a second.
My fault. 4-2. I think they're better than both these teams, even though both these teams are playing bad and the Phillies are playing bad. But I still think the Phillies are a better ball club. So whoever's playing bad, I think the Phillies are just better in general, and they're going to beat both these teams. So.
If they go 2-4, I quit. I can't do this anymore. So
4-2.
4-2. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go 4-2 because, as always, as negative as I always am,
I'm the pessimistic one here of the group.
I know for some reason, as much as I'm gonna go at them like I have today, and like I do every single night in our group thread and anywhere else, I just feel like maybe this is gonna be the turnaround. if they screw me over this week, then I'm however many games they have the following week, they're getting one win, and I'm just not going to deal with it. So we'll see how it goes. I just have 4-1, 4-2 this week. I think they take care of. I think they win both series.
Okay.
I think Seattle was a team that can be had. They're probably going to be without Julio still, so they're going to be J.P. Crawford's out for the next 4 to 6 weeks, so they're missing, two of
Wu
their
looked like
top
he was hurt
players.
too. He left this start yesterday early too.
Who
I don't
did?
know if he Wu.
Oh yeah, he left the game early. Yeah, he was pitching really. I mean, he's
So
been pitching well all season.
so
So
he would probably be scheduled to pitch that series too. So that's a positive note on our end. I think he's not pitching.
for sure. So just to give everybody a quick update on the pitching matchups, the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday it is Gill against Wheeler. Tuesday it's Cole versus Nola. That should be fun.
Ace versus ace.
Yep. And then Wednesday will be Cortez against Sanchez. So it's going to be a fun pitching.
Dude, the way I just there's that, I think they should win those. They should win 2 of those games. I mean, maybe not the Nola Cole one, maybe not, but they should win at least 2 of those games. Just hearing those matchups.
I agree with you. Totally agree. All right, everyone. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe on YouTube, and ring that bell for notifications. Thank you to everybody who's been tuning in. We really do appreciate it. I mean, we're at a point where we're averaging over 1,000 views per video. So we really do appreciate the support. So yeah, we'll be back here maybe next week. I'm going to be away starting Thursday this week, but I should be able to hop on here on a Sunday and do a quick recap show with y'all. But all right. For John McElroy and Jason Kent, I'm Christy Francesco, and we'll catch you guys down the road. And as